Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel and podcast. It's Daryl here and I'm sitting here with Andy this evening. This is Monday night as we record the preview for Man City in the EFL Cup at home on Wednesday night. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm good, mate. I'm still riding the crest of the hype. I haven't stopped thinking about this game. I think I've watched Match of the Day 3 times, extended highlights 4 times. On to the next one, I suppose. I don't think this one's going to quite be 8-0, but yeah, after the weekend, who bloody knows? Is all I can say.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I was there yesterday and I was absolutely thrilled to be there come the final whistle. Come at half time, really, to be honest. I'm still in shock. I can't believe it actually happened. I had to pinch myself and double check everything this morning and go through my little photo reel to make sure I had all the pictures from yesterday just to make sure that it actually did happen. Lads are absolutely superb. 10 out of 10s across the park, including the Tyne Bridge of Jimmy Neal and everybody else that's associated with the city. Fantastic day yesterday, and what a way to boost your confidence going into another big week of Newcastle United games with the game on Wednesday night against Man City, followed up with Burnley at the weekend. And we'll dive straight in. So, in terms of the game itself, mate, how do you feel about the game going into it?
Yeah, it's obviously this whole last few weeks has been so weird. We've obviously played in the Champions League, which is still mental that we've even done that. And then it was going into this weekend, it very much felt like we still hadn't really found our feet and that we all would have taken a 1-0 win, a scrappy 1-0, 2-1, something like that. And now we're on the back of that game thinking we can take on the world again. It's almost like we were last season for large periods of it. So going into this game, it's obviously so hard to predict, which it sounds a bit stupid for a match prediction, but obviously with all the rotation that goes on, especially with the big teams, you see completely new 11s and things like that. It'll be interesting to see what we do because obviously we rotated a little bit in the League Cup last season, but we didn't have the Champions League to contend with, and we obviously had a bit of a smaller squad as well. So confident. I think obviously if you're going to win a cup, you've got to beat the big teams eventually. I think we obviously had a bit of a favour last season when Southampton knocked out Man City. They almost gifted us that final. But someone's got to beat them if they're going to win it. So why not us?
Absolutely, mate. I'm going to interject quickly, and because I forgot to do this at the start, but we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor just to break and segue in here.
The Gallagher Shots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com.
So thank you, Scott. Our gracious leader. He's so good.
Yes, thank you very much.
Have you noticed, by the way, now intro, he has his own graphic that says Scott and we're just Daryl/Andy. What's that about?
Yeah, he's got two sets of images, hasn't he? Oh well, whatever.
I'm not fussed.
But yeah, so thanks very much for the message there, Scott. And again, apologies to everybody. It's a bit of a mishmash in this one because the inmates are running the asylum as far as this preview is concerned, I think. So we'll get in very quickly now to the lineups for both teams, and we'll start with the away side for Wednesday night. And Andy, you've got all the details for us.
I do, yeah. I thought the best way to probably do this is just look at what their first team was in the last game and look at what they've got on the bench. Because I think I mentioned in the preview for the Premier League game that Man City squad is actually not as big as you would think. It's just that the players they do have on the bench are ridiculous. So first up, they have actually got quite a few players missing. Rodri decided to do his best Casemiro impression and throttle was it one of the Wolves players, wasn't it?
Gibbs White.
No, Forest, wasn't it? Yeah, Forest, sorry.
Yeah.
Got himself sent off, so we know he's missing, although would he play anyway? Who knows? De Bruyne is still out, Kovacic and Bernardo are still injured, John Stones is still injured, so no B-listers there by any means, the big players. But anyway, their starting 11, I'll just rattle through it quickly for their last game, was Ederson in goal, Kyle Walker, Akanji, Diaz, Guardiola, Nunes, Rodri, Foden, Alvarez, Doku, Haaland. Very much the first 11. We're probably not going to see that this time around. We were saying just before we came on, do we trust Pep with what he's saying? He's saying that they're going to rotate. They will. I mean, their last game in the League Cup, that one where they were knocked out against Southampton, they put Calvin Phillips in. They had Cole Palmer played. It was Ortega came in as the keeper. They played Kyle Walker at centre back. Sergio Gomez came in at left back. So I think we'll see something quite similar again. their bench in that game was Nathan Ake, so high chance he comes in with their rotating centre-backs. Someone called Bob, who I wasn't aware of him, but apparently it's this wonder kid who everyone wants on Football Manager and he's class, like an attacking midfielder. Sergio Gomez is like a full-back wide attacker that can come in potentially. They also had Grealish on the bench, who's probably been sidelined a little bit this year compared to last year, but again, just a ridiculous player. If that's their second choice left winger, then God help us. Got Rico Lewis, who's really highly regarded fullback. Very likely he plays, I think, given Kyle Walker's age now. Ortega's the sub keeper, and Calvin Phillips, who I think those latter two probably dead certains to go in. And then not forgetting the best player of all on the bench, the eternal Scott Carson.
Oh, wow.
Four-time Premier League winner, Champions League winner, Scott Carson.
God.
One of the most decorated players in the game. Maybe he'll get a run out as well. But yeah, just on a sort of very basic level, I think a lot of those bench players are probably going to play. We'll see a few of the young uns, maybe some other squad players that we haven't really seen this season.
Yeah.
So, but if you plug that team into a Premier League team, it would probably still win the majority of games. But obviously, we know that it's not as strong as the first team, so we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, do we trust Pep? It's a game of Pep roulette, isn't it? We're going to be on the end of it if we're not careful. But, you know, I think you're right. I think Ortega will probably come in for Edison off the bat straight away. Again, I think it'll probably play hand in hand with how Newcastle will line up as well, because the big question is how much will Eddie rotate for this game? And we've seen in the last week where we've had 3 big games that the rotation's only been maybe 3 or 4 changes max per game. And for me, I have a feeling that we may actually see a few more wholesale changes for this one on Wednesday night. I think we'll certainly see a lot of the lads who've been on the fringes so far this season given their chance to start. We're looking at Dubravka in goal. I think he probably will change both of the wing, the left and right back. So I'll see Livramento and Hall coming in. You're probably looking at Lascelles coming in at centre-back. I was almost inclined to say Paul Dummett would partner him, but I think you probably shift Burn inside. Yeah, exactly.
What a treat that would be.
I think you'll probably shift Burn inside as the senior man. And, you know, there's flexibility in there as well because he could actually play target there, and we know that Hall has been known to play in central midfield. So there's an option there.
Did either of the 2 centre-backs come off against Sheffield United, or did they play?
No, they both stayed on for the full 90,
right.
yeah. It was just the left and right back that he changed. So he probably could have been taking Burn off as a precaution to have him ready for Wednesday. And in midfield, for me, I'm sort of doing this as a prediction of a lineup as well while we're going through it. Midfield for me would be Tonali, Anderson, Longstaff. But again, if he chooses to use Lewis Hall in midfield, then I think it might rest Sean Longstaff so we can play Anderson, Tonali and Hall in midfield. And in terms of the front 3, I think it'll be Isak will come in again to start up front because it's basically one or the other, isn't it? You know, the last week we saw that it was Wilson against Burnley, Isak against AC Milan, and then Wilson again yesterday as we record.
Well, I think the fact he got 10 minutes was probably how just getting something in his legs and then maybe thinking that we can get him a goal, get him some confidence going into that game as well, maybe.
Absolutely. I think on the right, we'll probably see Jacob Murphy come in. The left wing's an interesting one because if he plays Lewis Hall, the option is to keep Longstaff in the team and put Anderson at left wing. And I think with the injury to Harvey Barnes yesterday, that's probably put Pete to bed, like the idea that he might have had of playing Anthony Gordon from the start on Wednesday. In terms of anybody else to come in, I'm not entirely sure how he would set it up. But it remains to be seen. We're definitely going to see a bit of rotation there. I mean, just looking at a name on my piece of paper here, you could even see like Matt Ritchie come in as a winger.
What about Miley? I presume he's in the senior squad for this.
Yeah, so he played on Saturday for the under-21s in a 1-1 draw down at Brighton. And for me, actually,
he scored, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if you put him in. You could imagine him putting him in.
He showed a lot of faith in him in the Summer Slam series.
Yeah,
it was called.
Yeah, he got a lot of time, didn't he? It'd be interesting to see. And it would certainly be a big test of his credentials as well if he put him in.
He is a proper holding midfielder as well. There's obviously one of the debates about the midfield at the moment is who can play that number 6/CDM role, because how, as much as we like the fact he's buffed out the midfield, they're all quite similar profiles of players. They all sort of more forward players. I think Bruno's not really a defensive midfielder. I don't think Longstaff is either. Howe's even just said himself in the post-match for Sheffield United, he sees Longstaff as an attacking goal-scoring midfielder. But who do we actually have who's a proper defensive midfielder? And it probably is Miley when you just look at their actual position. So, yeah, I'd love to see him. We're all thinking the world of him, aren't we? So
yeah, absolutely. And I certainly wouldn't complain if he did start. I think it'd be a great opportunity for the lad to really experience what it's going to be like as his career progresses. So we'll move on again. I know we're still only 10 minutes into this, but we've really got a lot of workload coming up this week. So we're going to try and keep this one brief as we can.
Like the team, we're having to rotate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we'll
get the B team out.
In terms of the competition as a whole now. So this is the AFL Cup. We were losing finalists last year. We all remember a great day out at Wembley, apart from the result, obviously. And so where do you think, Andy, that we can go in this competition this year? We're not exactly off to an easy start. We're going to have to really beat the best just to get to the next round before we even think about getting to a final again. So where do you think we'll get to this season?
Well, Wednesday night will tell us a lot. If we can beat Man City, then all of a sudden you've knocked the best team in the world out of the cup. And then what's next? If you get a nice couple of draws, I mean, the draw gods should be with us if we beat Man City. We should get a nice couple of draws after this. So if we can beat these, I can't see why we can't make it to a sniff of Wembley again. Obviously, it will be more difficult this time if we've got a potential Carabao quarter-final right before or after a Champions League game. How does Howe then prioritise those games? It's almost impossible, really, because what you really want to do is use some cheat codes and get everyone up to 99 stamina again after a game. Obviously, you can't do that. So, I think of all the competitions, I think we're now in that bracket with the big teams where we're probably going to put the Carabao Cup, the Milk Cup at the bottom. I think it's obviously going to be, it's Premier League and Champions League on an even keel with each other, then the FA Cup and then the League Cup, but obviously the FA Cup comes a bit later. So if we can beat Man City, then let's go for it. Let's do the same again. Howe wants to win everything. The owners want to win everything. Let's go for it. But obviously it doesn't get harder than a game against Man City. Although I suppose it can get harder because you play Man City in a final, they're going to put all the big boys out. So play them now when they're maybe not at their absolute best. We might not see Haaland, which sort of takes off 6 goals immediately. So, let's see. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think this season it would be nice to get back to a final, but I just think that the way we'll have to rotate and prioritise the other competitions this season, it's probably going to be a step too far. Man City goes without saying, it's not easy. Doesn't matter what kind of Man City team you play, it's not easy because, and I'll go a little bit deep here, but this is Pep ball at its finest. He has, it's a DNA with Pep, and it runs through every single level of a football club that he's involved with. It goes back to his Barcelona days. He came through the Barcelona system, so he knows what he's doing.
He's been there that long now, hasn't he? Like,
exactly.
What's he on, year 6 or 7 now? Like, every player there has got that profile he wants, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where no matter what level of the club you're at, the style and everything else, tactically and all that, it's all the same. Every team plays exactly the same way, so that when somebody is promoted or somebody progresses up to the next level, they could come in and they know exactly what they need to do because they've been doing it all the way through the early part of their career. So this is really going to be a tough test for us, no matter what. And I do think that we'll have something, if we can believe what Pep says, if we can trust Pep that he says he's going to play a weekend team and he's going to rotate and all this. I think he's even said that he'll probably put a few kids in as well. So if he is going to do this, then we do still stand a chance because it's a 90-minute game of football, or, God forbid, extra time or penalties. I can't even remember if it goes straight to penalties these days. And we'll get to that in a second when we do the predictions. But yeah, I mean, it's if we can get through this round, then there's no, it'll give you that boost and that confidence that you can probably go quite far into the competition. But again, it depends on the look of the draw. all cliches ring true. You've got to have a good draw. I mean, we haven't got a good draw to start with, really, when you think about it, because it's
we're at
Man City
home,
at home. But yeah, that is a
we are
big
at
bonus.
home, and I presume it's going to be. I presume it's a sellout.
I think so,
I thought
maybe.
so. So it's going to be bouncing still.
Yeah,
Might not be necessarily the same profile of fan that's there, but a home game's a home game. Obviously, the home game in the Premier League last year was unbelievable. I don't think it's going to be quite that level, but that was a game where we really why can't I speak? Planted our flag. We're recording this late. Planted our flag in the sand and said we're here to stay. So you never know if we get an early goal, or even just something like someone puts a good tackle in, or we get a dodgy decision against us or something. If we get the crowd fired up, we can do these. And if we get into a stage in the game where it's 0-0 or it's 1-0 to us and it's 60 minutes and they're bringing on Haaland, then that's a great result, however it ends.
Yeah.
Because we know that our B team is nowhere near the level of these big boys. We're putting championship players back in the team. It's such a drop off in quality, but great opportunity for those lads coming in. Lascelles, who's been with us from rags to riches. I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. It's almost like a long lost relative, isn't it? Get these lads back in who we know we can rely on them. It's just whether they've got that quality against the best opposition. So, I'm excited.
It's funny that you mentioned that, though, about Man City bringing their top guns off the bench, but we can do that now as well, because we've got quite a bit of strength in depth. So we could, we could match that and bring Wilson off bring Wilson on even if we needed to, or bring Bruno into midfield or whoever isn't starting, basically. So it'll be interesting to see, and we'll glide very nicely into our predictions for this game. And I think I will let you go first, seeing as I'm hosting. So go on.
How nice. How kind. And you can work out whether I'm being ridiculous or not, and then do a sensible one. Well, we don't have a member, do we? So once again, if we had a member prediction, they'd be saying we're winning 3-0. We've won every game this season, which I love the confidence. I think this will be tough. I think because this is a Wednesday night and it's a school night, I'm just thinking my bus home is going to be long and depressing. So I hope I'm wrong, but I can see this maybe just petering out and then we just lose the game 2-0. I hope that's not too miserable and depressing for people, but that's my realistic prediction. The let's go for it prediction is we get off to a really good start, get 1-0 up, and then we get them on the break 2-0.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be that way one way or another. Although I haven't said that, I said we'd beat Sheffield United 2-1. So I'll say we'll beat them 2-1, and then we know what will happen.
Yeah.
So the official answer is we're losing 2-0.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to be even worse and put us through all the torture, and I think we'll probably go the distance and go through to a penalty shootout. To be fair.
Well, I think it could be quite. Takes a better penalty this time.
Yeah.
How shocking was that penalty last time?
Oh yeah. I mean, but yeah. So I think it will be quite a cagey affair. I think it'll take both teams a little bit of time just to grow into the game if they're not used to playing with each other. If there is a lot of rotation going on and a lot of changes, and I think it could even be a case of maybe a 1-1 after 90 minutes, and then if it takes extra time, it takes extra time. But I'm pretty sure at this point in the competition now it goes straight to penalties now, doesn't it? Yeah. So we'll say it goes to the penalty shootout. And unfortunately for me as well, I think that the other competitions are just too important to us this season, and I could see us crashing out at this stage. I don't want to be stupidly negative about that, but it's just I'm just trying to be sensible, because at this point in our development, it's the Premier League and the Champions League are the important competitions, and if this one goes by on the side like it could do on Wednesday, then fair enough. On the other hand, we could just beat them in 90 minutes or even win the penalty shootout. Who cares? But
I think I would take a penalty shootout now. To be honest, with where we're at with all the other competitions, if they just said it's a penalty shootout against Man City to go through, I'd probably say, "I go on then," and then just say, "Bruno, you don't get to take one." Wilson takes all 5.
Aye, why not? I would think reasonably thinking, I think a penalty shootout is probably where it's going to end up being, because the advantage of having the home crowd is still there for us, but like you said, it could be a slightly different clientele to what we're normally expecting in the league because of the fact it is the League Cup. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things, isn't it? And, like I've said, there's priorities this season, and unfortunately, because of, even though we've come on leaps and bounds in the last 18 months to 2 years, we're still a little bit of a way off and there's still a bit of a gap to the very top sides for us. And this competition, you would say, out of all the ones that we've started with this season, this competition is probably the least important.
We weren't saying that in the final last year, were we?
Well, we weren't, no, but
it was the biggest competition of all time then. But I know
we could have afforded to pay more attention to it last season. But it's going to be one of them things, and I think by the by, there's been a lot of confidence buzzing around the place after the last few results. So who knows? It's one of those. It's a toss of a coin, really, I think. But we'll see how we get on. So if you've liked what you've seen so far and you want to see more, there's all the socials are underneath there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, get following on Twitter. What else am I missing out here? Because I'm definitely missing something. Become a member
subscribe
from $2.99. Yeah, smash that like button. Become a member from $2.99. Peanuts, really, for all your extra content. You'll get this as early access as well. And then obviously we've got all the other content coming this week. There'll be another preview with hopefully not just us two running the asylum again, because it could get a bit messy if that's the case. Before the game against Burnley, we'll have reactions to that game, and then we'll have the lads back again next Monday with the Always Smiling Faces podcast as well. I think that's about it. Is there anything we need to add before we finish up?
No,
that's it. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Andy, and thank you very much, everybody, for watching and for listening. Or if you are listening, make sure you give us a 5-star rating on whatever sort of platform it is you're listening to get us up those charts. So thank you very much from me, and thanks from Andy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.